All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Kirby Russia, another live stream, which so far, according to the polls and your comments on the Kirby Russia Telegram channel, you like this. And if you don't know about the Kirby Russia Telegram channel, you should join it. Kirby Russia Hardcore, where you can see all these live streams and see basically everything I ever do. Speaking of polls, recently I did a poll and I asked you guys if you liked the previous live stream, because in it, I discussed, hopefully you can hear me, I discussed some unusual questions that I got from a viewer that were sort of in detail, and I couldn't sort of get the person to agree to do like a private consultation about this, so whatever. We discussed it, and I asked, in the poll, was this something that people liked or they didn't like? Well, of 4,100 subscribers, yeah, 4,100, not bad. 200 people, 200 and some, I think it's up to like 203 now, answered, and the results were overwhelming. 96% of you said you found that interesting. That's a pretty good sign. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a look at two more people who sent me some questions that are a bit of the unusual variety. Not saying that they're bad, not saying that these people have something wrong with them. No, just questions, again, very non-standard. So, yeah. For those of you who don't know, remember, you can watch on my channel that I made a whole video. I think it's called something like Immigrating to Russia in 10 Minutes, and that'll explain you the basics of immigrating to Russia. Then when you watch that video, if you still have questions, that's where this series of live streams is going to come in to get down to the specifics, okay? Or if you really want to talk to me in private, you can book a session, as they say, and we will do a private consultation with you. But that's a paid service, my friends. Tim's time is not for free. But anyways, before that, I just wanted to mention that in the last live stream, I was sort of in an annoyed mood, and apparently I did a very bad job of explaining the status of the American Village project. And a couple people wrote me like, "Oh, dude, that's so bad. It's too bad you're closing. They're giving up on." I'm not giving up on anything. It's not dead. It's not closed. It's just frustrating. First off, I just made a post here on the Kirby Russia Hardcore Telegram channel about the American Village. And real briefly, first off, remember the Northern Village, where Father Joseph Gleason is, has started. That's a thing. If you're interested in going up to the Great White North and doing some homesteading, talk to him, okay? About the village in the south of the Moscow region, that's my responsibility, and that has really, it's sort of a very slow legal process of sort of getting the land and converting it to being this little city. It just, every time we find sort of a solution to a problem, a new problem seems to arise. But I'm not giving up. No one is giving up. This is already a team effort, and that is going to go through. But the most important thing is that the vice governor of the Novgorodskaya region, not to be confused with Nizhny Novgorod. Nizhny Novgorod is the other direction, but it's the city in between Moscow and St. Petersburg. They want to have me come up there next week, and we're going to talk to the vice governor, and we're going to talk about the American Villages project together. Holy cannolis. So also, I forgot to mention, guys, if you write a comment basically anywhere, I will see it in the overall chat that I see. So, like, for example, if you're in Telegram and you comment under, like, the image that says Telegram live stream starts in 30 minutes, I'll see it, okay? So you can write make questions that way. Daniel's asking, how do I get in contact with Father Joseph? That's a question. I don't want to give out his phone number. I will give out his Telegram later because I don't quite know how to search for it while I'm also doing a live stream. So that's yeah, I'll get back to you on that one. Or if I forget, remind me. I'm a very forgetful person. Anyways, yeah. But so anyways, if you write a comment somewhere, I'll see it. If you want to use the raise your hand function, which allows you to raise your hand icon here, then I will be able to basically have you kind of join in and you can ask your questions again. Today's topic is, again, our favorite topic, moving to Russia, maybe the American villages too. But anyways, I'm very excited because I thought it was very gracious of the team that's around the governor and vice governor of the Novgorodskaya region to invite me and my ultimate immigration lawyer friend, Timur. It's the Tim and Tim team to go up to Novgorod Veliki or Veliki Novgorod, however you want to say it, and talk to them about building an American village. I have a little bit of extra optimism because I do know that that is a region that is very underpopulated, and so they might be a little bit more, motivated to get more taxpayers. You know what I mean? The Moscow region has been very gracious and very accepting of all of our proposals. But, the Moscow region it's pretty hot. It's a hot, everything around Moscow is hot. It's a hot real estate environment. There's a lot of people here. They talk about Moscow having, 12 or however many million people in it. Well, the region around Moscow, the suburbs or whatever you want to call them, has 7 million people. So not exactly desperate for taxpayers. Whereas I think the Novgorodsky region, they might be a little bit more motivated to really, get going on something or do it quicker or do it, build something quick. I think there's going to be a little bit more urgency with them, a little bit more, also maybe a little bit more ease because they have basically less constituents. I can't say that word. Constituents. Less people, less taxpayers, meaning we can get a little bit more attention for our project. Because remember, again, the Moscow region is a very high traffic area, and so the government has to serve a lot of people and so on and so forth. So, and I'm also optimistic because if they're inviting me there to talk about this, hopefully that means that we won't get the answer of, well, there's a war going on, special military operation. I don't know, maybe we'll do this later. So I think that they're kind of ready now. I think we sort of settled into what the future is going to look like, and so I'm very optimistic about that. Anyway, someone sent a map of the Russian Federation. Map makers are hard at work already. Oh, that's the new map. In the chat. Oh boy, can I somehow show this on the screen? I think I'm going to fail. Hold on. I will try my best, but I think I'm going to fail to get this map. Yeah, it's not dragging. It's not dragging. Oh, man. Well, anyways, I'll just share it right now because one thing is easy. I'll just share it. So anyways, from the chat that they're actually already printing out new maps of Russia with the 4 new territories added. So that's kind of cool. Thought that was kind of neat there, shared by our friend and yours, you, who spells it just like the word you, just to always confuse me when I get message updates. You make my life confusing because not everything that you does is related to me. So anyways, Tim, do you plan on living in the American village? Yes, that's one of the whole things is I think that really all these American village projects have to be under the, would custody be the right word? Guidance? Because one thing, guys, I want to make it clear is that I do not have a Napoleon complex. I mean, would I like to be some sort of intergalactic emperor who wears like a crazy power armor? Of course, who doesn't? But one of the whole points of at least the American village that I'm going to be, and where Father Gleason is too, it's old. We wanted to kind of give that old time America spirit of freedom of do whatever the hell you want. So I really do not want to be up in anyone's face or really very low influence from me or from Father Joseph there. But I do think that it would really help to have someone be there on site. Is Novgorod far away from Moscow? Yes, it is. But guys, where there's a will, there's a way, and I'm willing to make compromises. And if we can actually really build like this village to the way that I envision it in my mind, I'm willing to make some major life changes in order to make this happen. Okay, so I'll put it that way. So yeah, because if there isn't someone as a again, this sort of custodian, liaison, ombudsman. Yeah, let's throw out all the $64 million words today to sort of oversee this thing and also communicate with the government in Russian. It is going to not go very well, and this is going to be attached to my name, so it has to meet a certain quality level. And so, yeah, I'm willing to make some major life adjustments in order to make sure that this happens. So. But boy, would it be a lot easier to do it in the Moscow region. But we'll see. We'll see. And also, these are not mutually exclusive. Just doing one, having Novgorod in the Moscow region, one doesn't mean that the other. Basically, they're not mutually exclusive. We can do both. If it requires, there are some people I trust who might be able to take over that role of being, as they called it in the Fallout video games, the overseer. Oh yeah, Pete Steven just said, yeah, he just said, yeah, overseer, just like in Fallout. Sorry, Pete, I stole your joke. Forgive me. But yeah, the Fallout overseer role, there might be some people I can think of who'd be willing to do that, especially if they could, get some real estate for $0. Okay, so don't worry about that. But initially, it would have to be me because this is my baby. I can't just create this little city and then have nothing to do with it. That is not a path to success. All right, that's for sure. So Daniel, sorry for the question. No, Daniel, it's fine, dude. Today is a questions about Russia day. This isn't like a day where we're breaking down what Putin said. No. It's open. In fact, what we're going to do after this is we're going to discuss 2 emails that I got from people that had some questions about moving to Russia because everyone seemed to like the last live stream so much. So yeah, Daniel, it's fine. Ask questions. I don't care. And remember, if you type anywhere, I see the questions under any post within the Tim Kirby Russia Hardcore channel. And if you do the raise your hand function, you can talk to me with your voice. So yeah. So as Daniel says, sorry for the question. What are the requirements to live in this village? Do you have to be a farmer? Absolutely not. You have to be a native English speaker, and at the very least, not against the Eastern Orthodox Church, but there's a heavy preference for people who are members of the Eastern Orthodox Church or are willing to become members of the Eastern Orthodox Church. Why? Because Orthodoxy gives you a tie to Russia. Because even there's a certain, real quick, because I've talked about this before, but historically, when it comes to the question of who's Russian, it is really, do you speak Russian and do you believe in our ideology? Okay? And you guys don't speak Russian. Maybe one day you will, but you'll never speak it like they do. Okay? But the idea, the thing that sort of glue that's holds Russia together, well, a lot of Russia is the traditional religion. And so that's the thing. Because, again, it's sort of like, how people say who live in Texas. I see that someone has their hand raised. We'll get to you. Like people in Texas are like, well, these Californians, they made all these terrible rules. Now they come to Texas and want to do the same thing here. If you embrace Orthodoxy, then you are not going to turn Russia into the bad side of America. I think you only turn Russia into the good, amazing side of America. It's a little bit of a sort of filter there. So the one thing is, if you are really one of those like anti-religious, like foaming at the mouth atheist guys, sorry, not for you. No, allowed to speak. Hello, an American immigrant, I think your name is. For some reason, I cannot enlarge your name. Hello.
Hey, Tim, hi.
Very quiet. Hold on. I'm bumping up your volume. Yes, hello?
Tim, can you hear me?
Now I can, yes.
Okay. It's Daniel. I was asking you the questions just.
Okay, fantastic.
Another question. Okay, I'm an American. Yeah. I'm from New York.
Mm-hmm. I hear a little bit of New York in your voice there. Oh, yeah. I like it.
Long Island. You and I met.
Long Island.
We met one time in Moscow when I told you that I really enjoyed your traveling and YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but I'm in Moscow.
That was a while ago, yeah.
I'm living here now 10 years. I'm an American, but my wife is Russian. So my question to you is that I'm interested. I'm interested in living in this village with my wife and my 2 children. My other question would be my wife's sister. All right. She's Russian. My brother-in-law, he's Russian. They have 4 children. They're Russian, though. They're all Russian. Would they be allowed to as well?
Well, again, Sorry, I don't mean to cut you. Don't mean to cut you off there. I just want to answer this right now. Is that, remember? Well, I'm not quite sure how things are going to work out. One of the key issues with the southern village has been this sort of debate of how big the plots of land should be. Okay, right. And one of the issues is it's sort of like, the bigger the plots of land, generally the nicer it is, and the more it reminds us of the awesome, like 1800s America that we lost, and there's more you can do. But on the other hand, the smaller the plots of land there are, the more likely that a construction company is going to say, hey, let's take out a government loan, and hey, let's actually start building people houses. Because although there is this sort of a spirit of the pioneers and stuff, it is really hard to move to another country where you don't speak the language and like build a house from nothing. Some people are willing to do that and are even kind of doing that. But that's tough. So I'm not quite sure how much space there's going to be, but regardless, even let me temporarily mute you because I can hear me in the background. We'll get back to you. Don't worry, we'll get back to you. Regardless, is even if the plot size was the absolute bare minimum, which is called 6 sotak, so hundreds, as in 600 square meters, like the absolute minimum size, you could still build a pretty decent sized house on that. And remember, one of the things about Russia is you have the freedom to build whatever the hell you want. Like, you know how in America, if you have a house, let's just say, what is it called? Oh my God, it has some, like if you have a house and then you want to build like a little extra tiny house for like your relatives. Oh, it's something, I want to call it a UAV, but UAV is something different. Oh, it's like some sort of additional dwelling or accessory dwelling. Maybe that's an accessory dwelling. And you have to like go to the homeowners association or something and like the government and ask and beg on your knees for permission. May I please on my own land, please, may I build a little house so I can have my relatives live with me? Nah, that does Russia. You, dude, if you're approved there and you're going to, basically to be a part of this program with your wife and kids. So obviously I can hear you're a native English speaker. Don't mind if I make fun of your accent because I have the most Cleveland accent on the planet. The way I say the letter A is ear piercing. Okay. So you qualify for that. You want to build a big house? You want to build like 2 separate houses? You want to build, I don't know, a house in like a weird sort of little like trailer thing to have people stay? Do whatever the hell you want, man. Freedom, baby. That's what it's about. It's about old-time freedom. It's not about some homeowners association saying, well, the color of your siding, it's dark green. We only allow medium green in ours. No, none of that. None of that stuff, okay? So, yeah, you could do that. Absolutely. And, excuse me, Daniel, welcome back. I've unmuted you. Sorry, I could hear my own voice, so I had to mute you.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But my main question is, I have my family. I'm from New York, Native American, Native English speaker from New York, right? But my question is, my wife's sister, right? My brother-in-law, and my sister-in-law, they're Russian. Their family, they have 4 children. Would they be able to live in this village?
On your land, yes. Just apply to it. If the Novgorod region gives us like a ton of land, then I guess it wouldn't matter. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people who want these plots of land around the Moscow region, and the amount of them, whether they're bigger or smaller, the amount of them is very limited. If we go with more smaller plots of land, I think it works out to be like 180 units. If they become bigger, it becomes more like 80 or 90. And there's a lot of people who want to do this. So we'll talk about that in the future because the more people, the merrier. But in the bureaucratic sense, because remember, every person that's going to do this, we have to I'm mixing Russian and English, submit basically a package, like a conceptual package of who these people are, where they came from, proof that they were born in an English-speaking country, and show like, hey, government, we're actually doing what we promised, okay? So there's ways around that. And let's just say Novgorod, they gave us like a freaking ton of land or something, right? Well, you can get a double plot. We don't have to justify why. And whatever happens on the second plot, that's between you and God. You see what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, or especially the other thing is too is so even with the southern, like the Moscow region one, I really would prefer the plots of land to be big. But what if we go with the little plots? That'll be 12 of these sotkas or solta when you say 12. So that's 1,200 square meters. You could easily build 2 houses on that and divide and like subdivide it. That's plenty of room for 2 houses. Trust me.
Yeah, no, I know. So, I have 24 in Moscow region.
Oh, you have 24? Nice.
Yeah. I'm about 100 kilometers southeast of Moscow. I live in the city. But I have land in the village.
24 is awesome, man. That's a really nice size. Just for the people listening, I think that's almost then 25. No, it's a fourth of a hectare. Yeah. So that's
it's
sweet.
a good size. It's a nice size. But for me, it's more of, my brother-in-law. We're on the same wavelength, and we just would like to get out of the city, get more into a village type atmosphere, but more of a, and actually might try doing farming, but just want to change our lifestyles and get away from a lot of technology, and just away from, just be more in an environment with people and working together, and
Well, yeah. Well, then all I can say, man, is I really hope that either of these comes through. But basically, for you, yourself, and your family, yes, you absolutely qualify for this program, unless you're secretly some sort of Satanist and you haven't told me. So otherwise, you're good to go. About your relatives, like I said, we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get to it. But yeah, and it's just a sort of a matter, too, of getting through all this darn bureaucracy.
Okay. Thanks for your time, Tim.
All right. My pleasure, man. All the best to you. Okay. So anyways, guys, remember we can ask a bunch of questions. And here we go. Oh, we have some more questions. Coach House? What do you mean, Pete? I don't understand. Get my Putin vaccine. Maybe one day I will. How would this not turn into a multicultural issue like America? Would there be any way to limit or interview those wanting to immigrate in a second new Europe, but inside Europe waiting to happen? What is going on? I don't. So you mean like essentially by multicultural issue? I think this is Ilya is writing, and I assume that Ilya is then a Russian person, but you never know. Maybe he's Elias, and he just likes the Russian letters. But Ilya, are you sort of hinting that? Well, what if it happens where it gets to this sort of situation where, like, I'm from basically the ghetto, right? And you can definitely sort of get the feeling that you're not wanted somewhere when you're in the ghetto. But the thing is, that usually comes from some sort of like negative experience where people feel they're trapped somewhere, like, I don't know, Palestinians or whatever, or on some sort of reservation, Indian reservation, where people feel they're forced to be there, where everyone sort of voluntarily lives somewhere. That's one thing. I mean, problems can arise, but if you're going to live here, you're going to be a small minority, and you're going to have to play ball by Russian rules. So I really don't see anything particularly bad happening here. Another thing is people. I get a lot of messages from people, and there will be a filtration process, because some people who write me are, how do I put this? I was just actually talking to, remember codename Afanasi? We were just talking about this the other day with him. Just chit chat conversation, and there are some people, and unfortunately, some people the majority of people who write me, the absolute majority. Okay, so you're talking 90%. They can sort of be like, okay, Tim, I'm curious. I'm moving to Russia because here's a little bit of my background. Here's what I want to know, and I can ask them, hey, why don't you hit me up on Telegram so I can at least answer you by voice, make it easy on me. And then there's this weird sort of 10% where they are just hitting the wall of text. They are sending me Bible-sized things of text, asking me, and then I'm just like, dude, could you just maybe pick out the question? No. Wall of text. They're offended by everything I tell them. They rage out when I miss something in their wall of text. Like that weird 10%, trust me, no, they're not. I don't want to live next. If they're going to be this hard to deal with just through a messenger, like they can't even follow basic instructions to use a messenger, living next to them is not going to go well. So now there is a bit of a filtration process. Do you have to kiss my ass? No. Do you have to be able to at least somehow, properly communicate? Yes. Okay. So there is a little bit of a filter here, because I don't want to live next to people who are nuts, who are, especially, like I said, the whole thing about the American village is going back to this spirit of like old America, like pre-World War II America, where you have your land, you own it, you do whatever you want. I make the example that someone might want to brew beer. Brewing beer creates a lot of stinkies in the air that could be somewhat slightly toxic. That's the point where we're all going to have to kind of work this out. Like, well, how much beer gases can we let out into the air? There's a to an extent, there's going to be some sort of limit to what we can do on our property, but overall I want a high level of freedom, and I don't want pedantic. So I was going to say asobina, especially That's our Russian lesson for the day. Someone said I should include more Russian words. Osobana, especially. I do because I despise people who are really pedantic and legalistic and litigious. You have no idea, guys, how much I despise that type of person. Trust me, I don't want to live next to them or deal with them because they're just a nightmare on legs, you know. So, so Pete says 2 double wides it is. Well, yeah, dude, I've seen people in the Moscow region. I saw one guy before it was cool. He just sort of stacked. He had 3 like trailers, you know, from like a semi truck, 2 at the bottom and 1 on top of the other one. Turned it into a house. He was living happy. I don't really recommend living in a metal structure. There's a lot of minuses to that, but that's the freedom that I want people to experience in Russia, that you can build a container house without having to kiss anyone's butt. So anyways, Courtney. Yeah, again, people wanting to get in touch with Father Joseph. Yeah, Father Joseph's community is more spread out. Obviously, it's going to be more religious than mine is a little bit semi-secular because some people also, they try to think that they say, when they message me that, well, you're supposedly some sort of Orthodox Christian. That means you have to do this, this, and this for me. Doesn't mean you have to do shit. You can't swear you're an Orthodox Christian. First off, you're not a priest. As Father Peter here says, if you want a verdict about orthodoxy, you need to consult someone that has an ST period in front of their name, as in Saint something. So my punishment for my vulgarity is between me and God. That's one another issue. And I believe that with Maslow had that hierarchy of needs. And I think that there is actually a hierarchy of needs with religiosity. And the world is so degraded and so degenerate right now that I think swearing is really high on that pyramid, where all of our problems are like at the base of the pyramid of hierarchy of religious needs. So give me a break. All right. Don't tell me about a religion that, priests can tell me what to do. Anyways, Zelensky calls on NATO to launch a preemptive strike against Russia. Well, yeah, that's no new news. I've seen that. Courtney's asking, are they going to finally understand that Z has lost? Oh, Zelensky. Okay, that's a bit different. How about Samagon? Well, yes, people do Samagon in their own houses. So I assume that Samagon gives off less gas, but you also have to remember, sorry, I know that was a joke question, but I'm going to answer you seriously because Tim's going to go into dick mode right now. I believe because there's vodka is way more concentrated in terms of alcohol. I think you can get more bang for your gas buck because I've never heard of any problems with like toxicity or breathing in vodka gases in your own home as being some kind of problem. Whereas beer gas has created this huge issue in Tomsk that I've described many times before that I don't need to repeat. So yeah, but I just use that as an example of like, guys, where I want people to live their dreams, but when we get to this point where someone's going to be like, okay, I want to make 10,000 liters of beer a month. I don't know if that's a lot. It seems like a lot. You know, that's something we're going to have to talk like, okay, guys, we want people to have freedom. You know, how are we going to deal with this? How can we make this guy's dream happen without, making people smell beer 24 hours a day? So I understand there's going to be a bit of this homeowners association factor. I understand that's kind of unavoidable, but I do not want to get into this homeowners association of like, your grass is too long. Your shutters are the wrong color. You have to do your house in a colonial style. None of that. Get that out of here. That crap belongs back in the United States. That's not for us here. Okay. So it looks like we finally have actually caught up, and I can actually begin talking about kind of what I want to talk about. So anyways, we have a letter. Of course, these letters remain anonymous because I kind of joke about the questions a little bit, and I do not want to be nasty towards people who've been kind-hearted enough to write me, okay? So we're leaving this anonymous, and this person writes, if possible, so the first is very important. Okay, he wrote a few things before this, but they're not really questions. The first is very important, although it can cause brain overload initially, okay? If possible, I wanted to see some scenes of life in your locale over there. The problem is I don't think he's not really talking specifically about like the American village, but just, I guess, about where I live. Maybe you already have a video with some link. There was some Russian person who used to make videos walking in St. Petersburg. That is probably Sergei Baklikov. He did the channel Real Russia. I'm not sure if Real Russia is still a thing. Obviously, Sergei Baklikov is still alive, and he is still doing something, and he's a really nice guy. But Sergei Baklikov's channel really did become successful because he really did do a great job of just showing daily life in Russia. Ellie in Russia, so ELI in Russia, who I've interviewed before, she also does a lot of stuff related to daily life in Russia. Some of you guys don't like her because her political opinions are sort of the opposite of Tim's, but you know, when she's showing you what a store looks like in Russia, her political opinions don't matter. Okay, guys. So give the lady a break there. She's not a politician. She's not a pundit or someone who writes about ideology and geopolitics like your buddy Tim has. So let's give Ellie a break. And you could check out those two channels. On my channel, I am not. I tend to do kind of more bigger travel stuff. Maybe one day I need to make a video about life in Chekhov, but unfortunately, my friend, thank you for inquiring, but I don't have anything. So Real Russia, Sergei Baklikov, Ellie in Russia, which I think is just Ellie in Russia, those two channels will suit your needs. So maybe there's a video with Russian friends who speak English with some English conversation to get the idea of social relations possible for new arrivals. How are neighbors' relations over there? This is interesting. I actually find this question to be kind of fascinating. I think this person, they kind of almost want to watch a preview of how people interact with each other, and you really can't. And when people are speaking, first off, when people speak English to you in Russia, everything's different. I have a strong feeling that if you go around and you ask foreign people here who speak Russian well, have they been treated differently since they started speaking Russian well? Yes. You're a little bit more invited into the cool kids club. Will you ever be considered Russian? No. You sort of get put into this weird netherworld of being like our type of foreign guy. He's our foreigner. He's one of us, but he's a foreigner. You know what I mean? I think it's very similar to the way that white Americans would say, if you've ever had a conversation between people from Europe, you could say, well, if you refer to African Americans, they'd be our black guys because they're our guys, right? But you're also saying, well, they're not sort of in my group, but they're in my group. It's a sort of paradoxical sort of statement of being they're both in the in-group and the out-group of the person speaking. Here we go, sociology time. And that's kind of the thing you'll be. You'll become our foreigner, and you'll get sort of treated in that same context. But one thing is that also for this person who asked, your buddy Tim is a weirdo loner who lives in the woods voluntarily. Not a whole lot of social interaction. I get really overloaded through my career by social interactions. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm done. Tim don't want to talk. I don't want to have I don't want to have a dinner party and speak in English. Maybe one day it'd be nice to, but they're very hard to organize. In fact, every year when I have my birthday for the last few years, I thought, well, I don't see my friends very much. Nah, it never works out. So, unfortunately, I cannot give you a preview of what social interaction is like here. But one thing you can do is before you take the time to move to Russia, why not just try coming here for like 2 or 3 weeks? Try to interact with people yourselves. See how you feel about it. I generally like the way Russia works. There are definitely some minuses to it. That ever-present pessimistic attitude drives me nuts. But for some other people, they find Russians to be extremely rude. I kind of find Russians to be blunt and refreshing. It's all up to you. So I recommend before moving here, definitely checking it out firsthand, because social interactions on camera are not going to be the same as social interactions when they're like in your face. All right. What is the situation about the availability of vegetables in your area compared to the USA? I assume you get some material coming from the Southern Hemisphere when the season is the opposite. Well, the big difference is there's nothing GMO here. At least officially GMO is banned. So we should, in theory, not have anything GMO. Okay. Obviously, some companies like to, you know how it's kind of like how a product that like doesn't have any sugar in it, they'll be like, this is sugar-free when it inherently doesn't have sugar in it or doesn't have fat in it or something, you know, or I don't know. They'll be like, these apples are fat-free. Yeah, they're not made of meat. You know, it's one of those. And so a lot of companies will be like, this is GMO-free. In theory, everything should be GMO-free. But anyways, because Russia's cold, there's probably more things that come from a massive set of greenhouses than per se in America. A lot more greenhouse usage. But then again, the southern part of Russia and the newest parts of Russia are very good for doing crops. Do we import a lot of fruit? Yes, because there's mangoes are on sale, and what else? Berries and all this stuff that you really don't. In fact, there's a watermelon and a mango. Well, the remnants of a watermelon and a mango within arm's reach almost of me. So yeah, imported fruits are a big part of life in Russia. Do you have to pay a pretty penny for them? Yes, but it's kind of worth it. So yeah, I would say if you're talking about, again, if you're looking back to like the Soviet history of when the Soviet Union, I mean, food was really seasonal. Like in winter, that's why people have mandarin oranges in winter, because the government, the Soviet government, would sort of get their African or wherever allies to send fruit for New Year's as like a treat. Getting oranges isn't a problem, okay? Whether you like them or not, or whether they're good or not, that's a little bit more up for debate. But anyways, yeah, you're not going to have a problem with access to food. In fact, that may become a problem more for Europe than it becomes for Russia in the near future, that's for sure. So he continues his message. Anyways, we'll do one more little segment, then I'll check the questions. Remember, you can raise your hand and jump into the conversation. But for the moment, I can't see anyone raising their hands because I'm looking at the other monitor. I want to see where your city town is and try to build a mental picture of life there in your position. Just look for Chekhov, Russia. Chekhov, Chekhov, Russia. Just enter that into Google, and you'll start to see all sorts of pictures and whatnot. You can also enter it into Yandex, and you'll probably get more positive pictures of the city. It is a lot like, and in fact, in some ways, I've mentioned before the irony that in a lot of ways, I made all this effort to sort of leave the American Midwest to essentially live in the exact copy of it that happens to be in Russia. Life is very similar to the American Midwest, only people maybe walk more. But like besides that, it's yeah, it's a lot similar. It's very similar. And of course, because people walk more and are more kind of sporty and the food quality in Russia is better, you see vastly less overweight people. Sorry, Midwest, but we're real fat. We gotta fix our waistlines, baby. Got some real problems in the Midwest with dietary issues. But so anyways, if you take Ohio and you put Russians in it and you get Chekhov, and there you go. My life has come full circle. Anyways, were there questions? Let's see, Nick. Yes, I know about the Benny Kremlin's fortress thing. Ivan the Third commissioned a few. Okay, he's talking to someone else. Excuse me, Pete. Yes, Sergey still posts to Real Russia. Oh, good. But his main YouTube channel is now Baklikov Live. Excuse me, Baklikov.live, which is really good. So you guys should head over there. Sergey Baklikov is exactly off camera as he is on camera, as is Ellie. She behaves off camera exactly on camera. So these are both people who I believe portray. They're not liars, okay? They're not lying. If you don't like what they have to say or disagree with them, that's another issue. But they're telling the truth from their perspective, both of them, okay? Daniel says, Хорошо, Daniel. All right. So anyways, back to our question. So next question. Really, I want to correct my perceptions and misperceptions, so I'm asking these questions. Dude, I get that, but you kind of got to come here to see this, man. There's really no way to sort of just peruse this different society with its different ways of behaving and all. And another thing, too, is like I just mentioned how Chekhov is Ohio in Russia. Moscow is not. Moscow's a giant major city. Moscow is nothing like my place of origin in the United States. It is its own category. If you go out to the Altai Mountains, you're going to get into the very much more magical, mystical place, you know, where when we were filming, we were offered for like 1,500 rubles to heal us from toxic rays of curses and stuff. So you want to go into a weird, mystical, magical land filled with like bears and stuff? Well, it's another different thing. So it's very different. It's a very, very different place. Please understand that I am myself under the situation no different than Mr. Afanasi, if you get the hint. So that prevents me from telling more freely about myself. I do not know how secure this Yandex is and never tried VK mail. So you can give some guidance in this department also. Don't worry, man. I'm not using your name. But I would be completely honest. There are no secrets. It's Big Brother. No matter what you do, if they want to destroy you, they'll destroy you. You just have to embrace it. There is no privacy. Privacy's dead. That's the way I see it. Unfortunately, I am not a cybersecurity expert. But yeah. Finally, are you Orthodox? Yes, I'm just very bad at it. Mr. Afanasi spoke very effusively of Father Matthew Raphael Johnson, who is also a PhD. Anyways, is there a way I can contact by email Mr. Afanasi? I don't know. Mr. Afanasi might even be listening right now. I'll have to think about that one. I am definitely not. Definitely, Mr. Afanasi likes to keep his privacy at maximum. That's why I use a code name to refer to him. So I'm not quite sure if he wants to really give random people writing him. We'll see. We'll see. So I'll try to remember to talk to him. Again, thank you for any possible fulfillment of my questions. My pleasure. Thank you for writing. Sir, it is a man. I hope I did not ask anything where a recently planted sapling is disturbed and injured through my lack of wisdom. Dude, it's fine. If so, please feel free to contact me more frankly. Well, I have to contact you this way because, as you see, you have raised a lot of interesting questions that are huge, and I'm not going to type this stuff out. That's why it's either going to be private consultation or we're doing this over live stream, my friends, because, as you see, these are some huge questions. I type a lot. I can't. I'm surprised I don't have carpal tunnel syndrome. I'm really surprised for how much I have to type. But anyways, that was one letter. Let's go back and we will read our next letter. If no one is raising their hand to talk, is anyone? Wow, a lot of people are listening. Hooray, that's nice. But no one is raising their hand to talk. That's fine. Do we have any questions? No. Okay, so here we're going back to, this is a sort of follow-up letter from the guy who wrote last time. Okay, he seemed a bit ticked off about certain things. I don't quite know how to explain it, but I don't know. I don't think I fit with the way I sort of answer things or anything. But anyways, that's not a problem. That's not an issue. We're going to answer. He says, serious questions. Okay. So I was wanting to know schemes for moving there, as you seem to have touched upon where there are regional quotas and like some land to cultivate for 5 years or less. Now, I would ask you to go and watch that video about 10 minutes on immigrating to Russia. It's one of my more recent videos. You'll just find it. It's really easy about regional quotas. Every region of Russia has an immigration quota. All of them. There is no exception. I would say if there is a weird exception, maybe Sevastopol technically has an immigration quota. Good luck getting into a military city. I have a strong feeling that there are two places that I've heard are brutal in terms of trying to actually legally immigrate to there. That is Sevastopol, the Navy town, and the Krasnodarsky Krai, the Krasnodar region. They don't like your carrying around there, boy. And I've heard nothing but nightmares about people trying to move there, whether they have the right to move there or not, or the locals make it real hard to get in there. Other places, it's different. There are certain places in Russia that I've never, ever heard anyone even try. For example, Chechnya, because Chechen culture is very restrictive about who you marry. So it's really difficult to marry a Chechen girl. So you don't really hear many stories about people moving to Chechnya. So, yeah. If my life had gone a different way, would I be opposed to that? No, but her father probably would be. I'll put it that way. And her brothers, and her cousins, and their cousins. So, yeah, I'll never forget talking to an imam there, and he told me that it was a scandal when a Chechen girl wanted to marry an Azerbaijani man, as in a Russian-speaking Muslim from the same type of Muslim. Not, and for them that was a scandal. Oh boy. So there you go. So anyways, I like some land to cultivate again. Right now it is getting more and more difficult for foreigners to buy anything in Russia. That's why you'd have to buy something through me if you want to. If you can, we can work out a deal, and I can sort of hold something for you, and you can take it off my hands later. I'm willing to work a deal like that out to help people. Of course, I want to make a little bit of cash on it. You got to understand. But anyways, I'd be willing to help this person too. But, so I don't quite understand the question. If you're talking about where to move to Russia, well, there's farmland all over the whole country. Obviously, farmland around Moscow is going to be way more expensive than farmland in the middle of nowhere. So I don't quite know what to really say. And it also kind of depends on your animals. Chickens supposedly do very well in the cold. So one thing that'd be a good option is as long as you keep them dry, you could have chickens in Siberia, no problem. Supposedly, from my sort of research on this, they have to stay dry though. Kind of depends. Like, there's a lot of different climates. There's a lot of different animals and plants, and I don't know what to tell you, but there's farmland available all over the country. So, I've watched several of your videos, and I will watch them again in a few weeks. Thank you. Basically, I want to gather things and give a concentrated amount of time. Of course, you want to. If you're making a big life decision about radically changing your life, of course you want to think it over. For that land, is there any funds available to get inputs like seed, agricultural, machinery rental, greenhouse plastic? For foreign people, no. That I can tell you. There's absolutely nothing going to come from the government to help a foreign person. Zero. Are there things available to help Russians? Supposedly I saw that very recently they introduced a plan where farmers, if you want to start a new farm and you're buying farm equipment, they're willing to give away 50 million rubles, which I think in dollars is, what is that going to be, like $750,000, $800,000 in some kind of like no interest loan program to start a farm, but that's for citizens. Okay, so there are stuff now. In the past there weren't, but there is something now for citizens, but for foreigners, hell no. No. Can you just go buy a tractor? Someone actually asked me this recently privately. They're like, well, maybe instead of having they asked, well, maybe for a while we could drive a tractor around instead of a car. No, a tractor requires a separate, different type of driver's license to drive on the roads. So no, that's number one. You can't just drive a tractor around for the fun of it. Well, if you have the license, I guess you can. And number two, like they're sort of like, well, we kind of want to put off buying a car. Dude, like Russian and Belarusian made farm equipment's really cheap compared to John Deere. Not even worth it. Yeah. So anyways, talking about greenhouse plastic. Well, greenhouse plastic, you could just order from the equivalent of like Russian Home Depot. Like that kind of stuff is just available to the public in that way. So agricultural machinery rental, I don't even know if that exists. I think most people buy. I'm not sure if rental exists. Maybe it does. But definitely anything you need for a greenhouse, yeah, you can just at any time in Russia, like order the materials to build a greenhouse. That's extremely popular. Gardening is fairly popular in Russia. So like a greenhouse, no problem. That stuff's sold all over the place. Water, tube well, I'm not sure what a tube well is. You can drill for water wherever you want. Just don't tell the government. After that, I would want to move to mountainous areas where there are caves and ancient mountains. It's kind of part of this where I don't mean to insult this person, but I kind of feel like this is one of the things when with some of these letters, this is like the 10% category, where it's like, come on, dude. Like if we're gonna have this discussion about farming for the most part, effective farming. You want to talk about farming that's ineffective? Talk about farming in a really mountainous area. That's tough. Ask the ancient Incans or the modern North Koreans. All right, farming on mountains is tough. So when we're talking about farmland, you're talking about flat land. You're going to need electricity, this, that, and the other thing. And now the next question is, let's talk about building a farm. After that, so it sort of implies you want to like set up a successful farm just to, I guess, get some sort of income, and then I would want to move to mountainous areas where there are caves and ancient monks live. Dude, pick one. Like, maybe you're setting really long-term goals. I don't know. Maybe you're 20 years old and you've got your whole life ahead of you. But, like, setting up a farm that's profitable in a foreign country is a hell of a lot of work. Justice Walker, I'm not sure to what extent I don't want to talk too much about his private business, but I will tell you one thing. He took a lot of risks to set up that farm that he has in Siberia. He put down a lot of financial risk and years of blood, sweat, and tears, and his farm is profitable. And I think, how long has he been farming now? 6 years or something, or 5 or 6? Dude, if you're going to farm, that is a life commitment, at least and trust me, Justice knows what the hell he's doing. And I think he knew what the hell he was doing even before he started. So, and that took him half a decade. If I were you, if you want to have like a religious, like experience and maybe start living a monastic lifestyle or something, or live in the mountains because that's your passion, you can do that, but you can't mix that with like a farming dream that's going to require attention every waking hour for years. So I would really say kind of pick one. I don't know how generally with Eastern Orthodoxy is supposed to be accepting of people, but you have to remember that, like, especially if you kind of want to like hang out with monks and stuff, you're going to have to build a rapport with them. You might even have to do like the something where, I don't know, you might have to wash the floor there for a whole year before they even begin to kind of start maybe sort of accepting you as being kind of sort of on the fringe of their community. Religion here is still real, okay? And people who are priests in Russia, they basically go through like seminary boot camp. They go through you want to know why the reason you'll never meet a stupid Eastern Orthodox priest? Because they beat that knowledge into them over a 4-year process, okay? And the monks are even more hardcore. So again, if you want this like Christian like ascetic monk experience, you're gonna have to dedicate 5 to 10 years of your life. And if you want to begin farming, you're gonna have to dedicate 5 or 10 years to your life. So you're really gonna have to pick one or the other. Okay. If you just want to be in a mountainous area, well, that's a lot easier. Like for example, again, I don't know if Justice really likes me spreading all of his business around, but where he lives are in the Altai region. They're sort of between the mountains. There are these sort of flat plains, and that's where his farming is. So in some ways, he has access to flat land, but he's also in the mountains. So if you think that his model of what he's doing is awesome, you can look him up. Justice is spelled Justus. I always thought he was Justice like for justice in America, Justice, but no, it's U.S. Pronounced the same. You can just try Altai, where you can get both mountains and a flat farming land that's real cheap. So there you go. As long as it's not on the main road. If it's on the main road, it's the price has gone up recently. That's for sure. Anyways, do we have any more questions? Wow, I must be saying something either fascinating or mental because no one is. Oh, Christopher wants to speak. Yes, Christopher. Hello.
Yeah.
Hi. Always good to hear from you.
Hey, no problem. Concerning charging for consoling phase, I have friends who do that for a living here in the U.S. You need to charge for everything. You can give a video response a discount if you can use it, but you got to charge them. If you don't charge them, they don't value the advice, and they'll probably not act on it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if they're annoying and are going in 8,000 directions at once with long walls of text, you should charge them more.
Oh, well, okay. Well, Chris, as you know, my friend, dude, as you know, it's hard to get money over here. And a few people actually have wanted to book a private session, but they're just unable to send me money. Either Boosty doesn't work or I have a French friend and we're trying to work it out. And he claims that he has a proven solution, but I don't know. I'm really overwhelmed by work. So maybe within the next few days or the next week, I may have an actual solution to this problem.
Yeah, maybe get a Monero account with.
I've got Monero. If someone wants to send me Monero, but the one thing, Christopher, is this is sort of my plan B is when we get in these sort of spiraling conversations. I think that they're intellectually interesting, and they create. And apparently, you guys liked it, according to the poll and what people were writing me. People really liked sort of more strange questions about Russia, and so at least it gives content. And maybe some of you guys would like to remember Boosty. I'll share it to you. For sometimes Boosty works, and sometimes it doesn't. And some people have subscribed, some people have unsubscribed to Boosty over time. That's fine. I know how money can go. Let me get this chat open here and actually put it under the picture of today's live stream. So remember, Boosty is amazing, my friends. Boosty. You can send Tim money because it definitely helps me out. I am not the richest man in the world. In fact, I have taken quite the butt kicking this year financially. So if you want to keep this going, you can always help me out. But anyways, Christopher, any other questions or comments or something?
Yeah, don't be shy about charging. They value the advice more if they pay for it. About this kid going in 20 directions on agriculture.
Yeah.
Being an agronomist is on the professions list. If he really wants to get into farming, he should get an agricultural degree and then get a job as a farmhand for a while in the West so he has a clue. Otherwise, he's
but the thing about that, the problem is that then with that, he has to get a white salary job here related to farming that pays a certain amount of money. And the question is, how could someone even get that arranged? That's one of the hard things about the highly qualified specialist list is it isn't just the fact that you do that in Russia. It's the fact that you do that from an official employer who submits official documents to the government, who vouches for you and is willing to go through some of the hurdles in hiring a foreign person. So it's kind of a cool program in theory, but the reality of actually making the program work, it's very difficult. And I don't want to ever make it seem like, oh, it's easy. If you teach English, you can just come to Russia and no.
Yeah, good luck with that. No, I had an acquaintance in New Delhi who's an agronomist, and I told him to go do some networking in Russia amongst the Indian expats. And he immediately found a forum, an Indian expat forum, and was starting to get help. Was able to, do some networking to at least try to get his foot in the door to actually use his agronomy degree, which he apparently couldn't in India.
Oh. Well, hey, if he found something, that's great. I do know some people who remain anonymous who are foreigners, English-speaking foreigners, who actually the husband was able to find a job related to cattle ranching, white salary job for a foreign guy related to cattle ranching. I don't know who owns this place, but that man is a saint because he went through all the bureaucracy to help this guy out, give him a job, and I think the salary actually qualifies for the highly qualified specialist list. So it's possible. It really is possible to do this. But the inviting party, that guy who's employing him, again, living saint in terms of patience for government bureaucracy. So,
all right.
But anyways, we'll get back to the conversation over here. But yeah, what you were saying, Chris, about charging people for stuff. That's one kind of interesting thing about Russia is that in America, we sort of understand that. But in Russia, that's, I'll put it this way. One thing that all of you'd have to get used to is money is a dirty topic, okay? There are certain things like, for example, we're not going to talk about Tim's sex life on this program, okay? That's a topic that's kind of, ew. That might turn a lot of people off to this channel. That's my personal business. That's something that's should remain in my skull or with the women who choose to engage in such acts with me. What's going on in their skulls, okay? But literally, that sort of ew feeling is the way Russians get about money. And so maybe I've really even myself sort of assimilated to a degree, but I cannot tell you how many times during negotiations I've agreed to do something without really asking about the money side of it, because that is the absolute last and final part of any discussion or negotiations, because money is an ugly topic. So perhaps I've become too Russified, but yeah. So, but in general, at this point, guys, thankfully, we're growing here, and I'm getting too many emails to even answer them. And so at least we're going to get content that you all can enjoy, and it grows the channel. Or maybe some people can do some consultations with me. And people do definitely appreciate what they pay for. There was even a social sort of experiment in Russia. Well, not social. It wound up becoming a social experiment. In one region of Russia, they wanted stores to just start to give away their sort of food that's near the expiration date for free to the elderly. And it turned out that kind of the elderly kind of got into fights over it, and it basically didn't work out. But when they started to charge like a nickel for things, like a minuscule amount of money, all of a sudden, because people still had to pay for it, the attitude towards it was very different. And so there is a factor of when people are paying for something, they definitely appreciate it. One thing that I also do not, of the weird 10% of people, so 90% normal who write me, the weird 10%, there's this always this disrespectful tone, like I owe them or that I'm beneath them. Get that shit out of here. get that shit out of here. Tim does not play. Recently somebody even wrote me and they're like, I am offended because you used this word. Okay. I think my answer was actually, I don't care. So that, that stuff, Tim does not play. That's out. This is ridiculous. We're adults. We're trying to answer serious questions about people trying to change their lives. We're not going to get into, you said a word I don't like. And trust me, friends, Tim does not use racial slurs. So it wasn't that, okay? Tim swears a lot. He doesn't use racial slurs. I've always been, I don't know, swear words are just kind of ugly. Racial slurs are fighting words. And I don't want to start any fights with anybody. I only settle fights. I don't start them. I'm a man of peace, baby. So, anyways, let's see. Oh, Dan Scavino again. Oh, these Dan Scavino bots. Anyways, let's get rid of that. So anyways, guys, it looks like, he says, Daniel says, never talk about money with family. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And don't whistle indoors. That's also related to money. Yes, that's true. But yeah, the money's a dirty topic here. It's a really dirty topic. And that's one of the hard things about, like, with this person who in theory wants to start a farm. Well, you have to also think about, coming from, I think people are pretty open-minded about talking about money. Oh, hold on. We'll get to you. I see a hand raised. But like people in India, I think are pretty open about talking about money. I know Chinese people are definitely, they don't care. But the thing is, how can you run a business when everyone is ashamed or kind of scared to talk about money? Challenges. Allow to speak. Cheb is in Cheburashka. Hello, would you like to speak?
Hey, how you doing, Tim?
Hi. I'm as good as I can be.
Awesome. Yeah, so I followed you for a little while, probably maybe like 2 or 3 months, but I did see you on Ellie from Russia sometime in the past year before I got here. So I got here in April, obviously after the sanctions. And
was I by the Kremlin or was I at a sports sort of facility?
Oh, in my mind, I just remember you guys walking around. This had to have been like maybe around a year ago.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah. I don't remember which specific one, but I've been obviously like every other Western person here trying to solve the money problem.
Yeah.
And I want to know if you had seen there's a company, I know one for sure. Someone sent me a link. They will open a bank account in one of the CIS countries for you.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is like send them your like copies of your passport and stuff like that, and they'll open an account in your name, and that is a way to like kind of circumvent the whole sanctions thing. I wanted to see if you had heard about this kind of thing, and if so, what you think about it.
Unfortunately, so anyways, Cheb, let me temporarily mute you so I don't kind of hear myself in the background. Well, the thing is, I only can recommend to people things that I know people and they actually did it, and this isn't just related to money. And I don't know anyone who's done that and successfully, so I can't say. Maybe some of your friends it worked out. When I consulted VTB Bank, they said that you can definitely send money from like a VTB bank in a former Soviet republic, as long as the account is in rubles. You can definitely send money from that account to Russia. So according to VTB Bank, so it's sort of mixed. VTB Bank told me officially, I have the written dialogue from them, okay, that if you're one of their banks in the former Soviet republics, if it's written in rubles, it's a ruble account, they can send money to Russia still. So if that service actually provides you a VTB bank account with a Russian ruble, account, okay, you might actually have to open 2 accounts. One that would be like a dollar account and then transfer from the dollar to the ruble account, possibly. But so in theory, that does seem like a solid plan. Again, my friend from France who's been working with me on getting through this and making a few donations along the way. What did he say? I don't know if I should reveal all this quite yet. Save a solution. Yeah, that's too early, too unproven. I'll tell you about that when I find a proven method. Unfortunately, I've got nothing. Christopher wants to speak because Christopher is someone who's gone through the process as a foreign person, as a non-citizen, of doing some of this kind of stuff. So anyways, Christopher, hello, you're back. And I'm going to bump your volume to maximum.
Yeah, no problem. Just a warning about cryptocurrency in Europe. The EU today is forbidden cryptocurrency providers from transferring cryptocurrency to Russian coin markets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can tell you. Yeah, I can tell you personally. Binance does not work. Binance is blocked. Binance is garbage. It does not work in Russia anymore.
Lovely. Well, so much for that. Yeah, getting a VTV account isn't difficult if you're in country. It's they just go to a branch, talk to them. They'll want a notarized translation of your passport and your immigration doc from your hotel or the apartment you're staying in, and a few days later you get the card. Tinkoffs will do the same with a little less paperwork, but it's going to take 2 or 3 weeks for them to find somebody who speaks good English to go to where you're living and give you the card and photograph you and your passport.
No. I was actually surprised. Well, I did it in summer, and the girl there, she spoke English fantastically. So anyways, thanks, Chris. Cheb wants to get back online, but everything Chris is saying, this is a thank you, Chris. This is so valuable, what you're saying and your experiences, because I can't go back to being foreign guy. Like, when I came to Russia, it was so hard for a foreign person to get like a bank account. It was such a big, and like for you, you just kind of just did it. Just kind of showed up, VTB account, Tinkoff account, no problem. So Cheb, you're back. And your volume is going to be at absolute ultra maximum so we can hear you. You there? Hello? Cheb.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, sure.
So I want to see, I saw something on one of these Telegram channels about Turkey in the Troy card.
Yeah.
Them getting off the mirror and switching to Troy. I want to see if you had seen that, and if so, hopefully, you can touch upon that.
That's an interesting curiosity. Erdogan, our watermelon selling future Ottoman overlord, Erdogan is he's wheeling and dealing. He's chucking and jiving, and so that Troy system is a very intriguing concept. It's something interesting, but remember, this was just revealed in the news. I made a post about this the second I saw it, or the second someone sent it to me. Remember, the TKR pipeline, there's 6 or 7 guys in the pipeline who help gather a lot of the news that I share. Thank you, everyone. I bow to the pipeline members. In fact, I see some pipeline members are listening right now. They got that information to me quick, but dude, it just happened like a couple days ago, just a handful of days ago. Again, I have no proven cases of it. When I get to a proof case usage, I can tell you whether it'll work or not. For now, it's an interesting option. So anyways, let me go through the last questions if there are any online, and then I'm going to bail. That's not related to what we're talking about. Neither is that. Excuse me. I don't know. Something with old age. The more I kind of talk online, the more I always want to kind of like hiccup or burp or something very weird. But anyways, guys, it looks like if no one has anything else to talk about, I'm going to bail. But I guess then if you want to talk, raise your hand. If you want to throw out something, throw it out. My final thoughts then are going to be this. Well, my final thought is if you guys can, try to pay for my Boosty. It's kind of goofy. Some people say that they've used one card or this way, or they've paid by phone. Guys, for all of you who watch my content, there's 4,000 of you. I think we only have like 10 people on Boosty. That is not a good percentage. Even if, let's see, 1% of 400 is 4. So 1% of 4,000 would be 40. So even if 1% of you guys gave me Boosty donations, it would really help with the process of me extending my house so I can get finally a nice studio instead of this piece of crap green background, which I'm just so sick of, and do something more professional. But anyways, beggars can't be choosers, but I really appreciate the Boosty link is in the chat. It's there. Try if you can to send your old boy some monthly cash. But anyways, my final thoughts are with this, especially with this whole farming thing, is that I think it's good that people want to live like their dreams in Russia. But one thing that I can say is that, also the overwhelming majority of people who are men. And it's, well, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I don't know. And someone said something I don't like. And then, especially, we're also getting, well, how do people interact? I don't understand that. As a man, I don't quite get that. It's like, here, we got to embrace our testosterone. Like, stop. Okay, I got to pick something. What do I want to do? Like, if you're going to go to, again, let's make this less personal. Let's make it then China, okay? It's like, okay, you're obsessed with China. Are you obsessed with China because you're a fan of communism? Well, then you really need to start maybe trying to get into organizations related to that. Are you a fan of the Shaolin monks or something? Then you're going to have to, mop the floors of the Shaolin monks for a long time. Or if you want to do farming, then you're going to have to, you're going to have to really put together some kind of plan and dedicate yourself to that thing. You can't just kind of just do everything or just whatever. I understand that a lot of things in life are impossible to plan. If I would have, when I was 14, been told that I would work in the Russian media, I would have never believed it. And I don't think if I were to go back in time, if I would have been able to repeat the exact same steps to get where I am today, I probably couldn't have repeated those exact same steps. There's a kind of factor of luck. There's kind of a factor of destiny as the rivers of time push us downstream. But the one thing is you at least have to pick some sort of vector. So if you're coming to Russia and you got to think, why the hell do I want to be here? Is it an ethnic thing? If it's an ethnic thing, then essentially you can kind of be happy anywhere. Is it this big open spaces in Siberia thing? What is it? What's the real core thing? And when you figure that out, you can sort of build a plan about it. If it is this thing where you want to be this sort of like homestead person, you want to live in a little place all by yourself, then, for example, what are you going to do? You need to go online, meet some sort of Russian woman, and get married. Okay? So that way you actually have an in to come to Russia. And you have to meet a woman, and you're going to tell her from the moment you start talking, we're homesteading. Of course, there's no real term for that in Russian. It's okay. You can explain it in a more elaborate means. You tell this girl, look, I want to come to Russia. I love this place. You'll have to listen or say, but Russia's an awful place. Roger, shut it. I love you, baby, but shut it. That's what you're going to have to shut that stuff down real early and tell her, look, I want to go out and do some farming. We're going to have kids, raise them on the farm, and that's what we're going to do. I got the X amount of money. I'm going to bring it in cash, rock and roll. And then, come, get married, start your migration process, and buy some kind of, through her, some kind of cheapo land somewhere and put some little house on it and get going on that. And that's going to take you, that's going to be like a 10 to 15 year process, but it's possible. But you have to kind of focus on that. You can't live some sort of Russian homesteading dream by accident. It's not just going to happen to fall into your lap. Just like with me, the reason I work in the Russian media is because when YouTube was young and it wasn't full of censorship, I created one of the most popular YouTube channels in Russia. A lot of that factor was luck. Some of it was skill, some of it was effort. A lot of it was luck. I was at the right place in the right time, so I get to be in the Russian media. If one of you guys is like, wow, I want to be in the Russian media too, I'll just go to Russia and somehow, if you can somehow come to Russia and make an extremely popular YouTube channel that can compete with a now ultra-saturated market, maybe you can. But I was there at the right place at the right time. Maybe divinely, who knows? Right? So if I would recommend everyone that if you're really seriously planning on moving to Russia, you got to think about, like, overall, why? What are you going to do? Why? All right? And it looks like we have no more questions, no more hand raised. So Tim Kirby signing out.